We've developed several ciphers. If you'd like to review our preliminary data.
Book dropping sharply after hours, the stock weighed down by new growth concerns.
What if I told you there was a way to make your money grow passively? You just put it somewhere and it grows and gives you the returns you want after a while. You can do that by investing. Hold on, I know you might be ready to dive in, and I know how exciting it is to imagine the rewards you're hoping for. But before you buy in, make sure you're aware of the most common mistakes investors make. This is Business Explained. To learn more about all things money, get educated about how to do business, become business savvy, and enjoy more videos like these, subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell, and may you be granted with many, many sweet returns. As an investor, especially being a new one, there are always going to be areas of improvement where you need to learn from to avoid any mistakes that might turn out bad as time goes on. Thankfully, we have a whole history of experts and veteran investors who can point out what we have to watch out for at every step of our investment journeys. I've gathered a couple of these things to watch out for into two general categories: self-assessment or mindset problems, and practical action problems. As mindset always precedes action, let's look into what you have to get straight with yourself before starting or continuing to invest. An essential part of becoming an investor is knowing yourself, and that's why the first mistake anyone can make before making their first investment is not being honest with themselves about the level of commitment and involvement they plan on having for investing. Knowing yourself as an investor involves knowing the specific financial goals you have, the amount of time you hope to accomplish them in, and assessing the level of risk you're willing to make in relation to these. In turn, this helps guide you to knowing the best investment strategies and assets for you to take part in so that you can closely meet expectations you've set for yourself without much regret. This relates to the second common mistake an investor makes, where their investments become based mostly on their emotions instead of making decisions objectively. A common example of this is how many get very excited and enthusiastic going into investments, seeing the end result without properly laying the path out towards their goals. This becomes dangerous because, as some experts would say, the fear of loss is stronger than the upside of gain. This means whether you're coming from a very ambitious or a very conservative side of investing, seeing the stock market plunge can make you impulsively react to selling your shares easily if you become panicked. Just because a stock lessens in performance, it does not automatically mean that you didn't make the right decision. Investment isn't like leaving a tooth under your pillow and expecting the tooth fairy to have come in the morning. Because investment is never going to be a fully passive avenue for income, it will be more like taking care of a plant, watering it and watching it grow. If you don't control your emotions, it can lead to the third mistake many investors make, especially those who are just starting out. This is a problem of not investing at all or waiting too long to start their investment. Don't worry, I get it. It's not uncommon at all to be scared with the idea of investing or putting in your first investment. But you have to keep this in mind. There will never be a perfect time to enter the market. But you can be sure of this, that the older you get, the less value and potential your non-invested money has. The longer you take to go into your first investment, the less time and value you'll have to reap the harvest of the principle of compound interest, which basically shows that your first investment will generate more money, and that added money will give more leeway to make even more money. It sounds cliche at first, but the math and the market, although never perfect or ideal, shows that the length of time to be in the market is indeed as essential a factor in growing your investment. So as scary as it might seem, especially at the first part of your journey, take the first leap and keep going. The next set of mistakes investors make are on the more practical side, where it's not necessarily because of a lack in self-assessment or a good mindset, but can be due to the misunderstandings of basic principles present in the world of investment. The first one among these is when investors aren't able to ensure that they're prioritizing the cash they need at hand for their immediate needs. Always remember, never invest money you can't afford to lose. This is because there are still investors who seem to be investing money that's supposed to be a source for emergency funds. The priority for any person's life is still to put food on the table and to pay the bills. Investments is about maximizing your savings or money you can lose, not the money you need for your expenses, especially in possible cases or emergencies or economic downturns. Another thing to note in relation to this is that if you can't risk investing because of too low of an income that leaves almost no room for savings, then you have to wait for a better time, wherein you're not in an objectively risky financial situation. Remember, cash is king. Always keep contingencies for the sake of the least possible risk with still the highest possible reward. Another common mistake among investors is not taking time to understand the investments they're getting in. This is a problem in the preparation where instead of being able to properly review what they're investing in, especially if it's in a volatile asset such as stocks, they rush in because of seeing only part of the picture. This could lead to the investor lacking confidence in their investment and pulling out prematurely when in reality the asset would have yielded growth after some time. It also could end up letting the investor hold an ego where they have too much confidence and will have difficulty pulling out from an objectively sinking investment both in the short and long term. This mistake is highly connected to a need for understanding the principle of intrinsic value, where an investor must look at an asset's value on its own without necessarily referencing from others to judge it. Expert investors take note of this principle to be able to determine the true value of an asset and see if whether its current price in the market is overvalued or undervalued. When it is undervalued or its stock price goes down, investors see this as a legitimate asset to invest in because they know that no matter what, it has definite chances of rising in value as time goes by. A very common mistake which is connected to this is tending to copy someone else's investment strategy or following experts and charismatic figures in their advice without understanding the sides of the investment. One of the things you have to recognize for yourself is that investment is 100% your decision and responsibility. Copying someone else's strategy in which asset to invest in or how to go about it can be very ineffective since your goals, although possibly similar, do not imply that you should take the same path. Gather enough thoughts and speculations to be able to come to your own conclusions, wherein you won't depend the results on something you yourself haven't personally decided on through your own understanding. The fourth mistake of practicality for investors is a rather simple one. It's when they concentrate all or most of their investment money into just one or a few assets. This is generally not a bad idea, especially as a beginner or low-income investor, but as time goes on, where you earn more money to invest and continue to learn about the market, it becomes less practical to put all your eggs in only one basket. A lack of diversity in assets can lead to problems when the market fluctuates and prices heavily, leading to a great loss which can possibly not return for a while or at all. Make sure to explore and diversify. The last and probably the very top investment mistake there is because of its commonality among the majority is when investors try to time the market and fail to do so. As I mentioned earlier, there's never going to be a perfect time to enter the market. There are a ton of factors which influence the market economy each second. But despite all these constant changes and unpredictabilities in the investment world, there's always wisdom and merit in being patient. This is exactly why it is important to understand the asset you want to invest in line with your strategy so that you can be confident regardless of the always fluctuating market so that you can hold the least regrets possible. That's why there is also the buy and hold strategy, where regardless of bad figures for a period of time for an investment, an investor can be certain that in the long run, they will definitely see rewards. Panic buying and selling of the assets based on only decisions of seeing the growth and drops of the market can lead to serious loss and continuous discouragement. A certain level of commitment to your investment is an important thing. The fact is that one can never see the whole picture. Investors in the mid-20th century would have never guessed how much change the world would go through when seeing the assimilation in the development of technology in today's digital age. As unnerving as it may be, have a level of confidence in this trade. A loss today can always be a gain for tomorrow. What are your thoughts on investing? Now that you know what to avoid, do you think you'd be brave enough to strike out and invest on your own? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'll be responding to all of you who comment within the first hour. If you like this video, you should definitely check out my other video called How the Far Right is Shaking Germany's Political Order. Known for big brands such as Adidas, Mercedes, and Nivea, Germany is one of the world's economic powerhouse. But amid their fast cars and stylish clothes, the country is also known for its dark history of dictators and the radical right. During the Second World War, the country was the epicenter of it all, as a National Socialist Party, or the Nazi Party, headed by Adolf Hitler, seized power in the federal parliament, the Reichstag. With contemporary issues such as the migrant crisis, the Eurozone debt, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, politicians and analysts are afraid of the recent gains by the far right in both local and federal elections. They're afraid that the far right is shaking up the political order of Germany, and that the issues they're facing today might just help it become more prominent. That's what we're going to be taking a look at on How the Far Right is Shaking Germany's Political Order. Stay tuned, stay educated.